I am a white, Christian, middle class, female. Does this give me cultural capital? Does it give me power, or does it mean I am expendable? What makes me different from all the others that look, act, and believe the same as I do? I have to start with my family, and from there tell the story that makes me the confident, perfectionistic leader that I am today. This is my mother. Her parents were well known in Waco, Texas, where my grandfather was a pediatrician and my grandmother was a Waco socialite. My mother always considered her caretaker, Maddie, to be more of a mother to her than her own. Maddie took care of the kids for my grandmother, and the only two that got her attention were my two uncles. They were the pride and joy of my grandmother, and my mother never quite lived up to her expectations. My mom took another approach to child rearing and made myself and each of my sisters feel equally loved and cared for. We were all enrolled in the same lessons, from piano and ballet to t-ball and soccer. I was unlike my sisters in one very obvious way. I was a tomboy. My family lovingly refers to this stage in my life as my Hank phase. I may have wanted to stand out or get extra attention, but instead of encouraging me to change, they just let me be me. This reaction from my family gave me a strong sense of identity. It showed me that they would accept me no matter what. I am confident in who I am today because of that acceptance. I look at myself in pictures, and I can't help but think what would have happened if I had grown up in today's society with the gender choices and the social media outlets available. My family lovingly accepted me, but not everyone experiences that same acceptance. I have empathy for students I see that are unsure where they fit in, and as a leader I hope to model my parents' encouragement and acceptance. My father is from a small, modest, middle-class family in Denton, Texas. My grandfather died before I was born, but I remember my grandmother, Nana, who was adventurous and a world traveler. I attribute my love for traveling to Nana. She experienced places around the world that I still hope to see with my own eyes. My parents were from different backgrounds, but they agreed on one central belief: their faith. My childhood was filled with Bible studies, choir concerts, church activities, and morning prayer sessions and devotionals. I still spend my mornings and Sundays in the same capacity. My faith journey has had its ups and downs, but looking at my historical self and the influence it has on me today, I deduct that my faith is the most important part of my life. It is the core of my value system and ultimately instilled in me more diversity, empathy, and understanding than I could ever yield on my own. I am thankful for those early morning prayers, the Bible study groups, and the commitment my parents made to my family. Once I grew out of my tomboy stage, I followed in my sister's footsteps to be a West girl at her best. We weren't taught to cook meals or clean house or to be the perfect wife, but instead we were encouraged to take care of the way we looked and the way we presented ourselves. I was constantly reminded to sit up straight and hold my shoulders back. My mother modeled this confident air in her different leadership roles around town, from junior league meetings to Meals on Wheels runs and church gatherings. Let's just say she is a force to be reckoned with. She didn't have a job, but was a leader in her own right, and I see that side of her in me today. I still hold my shoulders back, stand tall, and hold my chin high. At school, I often think with this stature creates the perfect leadership persona. But could others see that as arrogance and be put off? Is my stance intimidating and unapproachable? I have heard people call me intimidating before, and my goal is to turn that around to confident and encouraging. I don't want my colleagues and my students to feel put off. I instead hope to convey the message from Wheatley in The Practice of Conversation that says we are equal, we need each other, and everyone has something to learn, including me. I continue to follow my sister's footsteps to college at Texas Tech University. My middle sister had gone to the same school, and both sisters were Tri-Deltas. I also became a Tri-Delt, but didn't find a place I fit in. I traveled to Spain the following semester. I am a Spanish teacher. I hated Spanish as a child, and the fact that I am teaching today could be nothing but divine intervention. In the article Willing to be Disturbed, the author encourages the reader to spend time in not knowing. I spent most of my time not knowing anything the first time I lived in Spain. I left home September 8, 2001, and landed myself in a country where I didn't know the language, and my friends and families were far from reach. On September 11th, I had moved into a Spanish household and was cut off from my comforts of home and the security of family during the tragedy that happened that day. The support and love I felt from my Spanish family helped me cope with the tragedy and eventually came to love Spain as if it were my own. I started my journey in Spain uncomfortable and unsure. I was immersed in not knowing. This was a scary place to be for the perfectionistic side of me. It pushed me to face my fear of failure, and not speaking the language fed the flame of my low self-worth. I know future leadership roles will put me back in the space of not knowing, and my Spanish adventures will always be a reminder of the reward of not always being in control. I spent the next several years traveling to and from Spain to continue my education and to deepen my love for all things Spanish. I finished graduate school in 2006 and almost took a job with Texas Tech University working with the exchange program in Seville I had previously attended. Instead, I chose to come home to teach Spanish and to live amongst the spiritual support of my family and friends. I am collectivistic in nature when it comes to my family and friends, so choosing to come back to my in-group wasn't a surprise in retrospect. My colleagues and I agree that I have an affiliative nature, which means I form and sustain meaningful and reciprocal relationships. I see this throughout my childhood in relationships with my family. I see it in my relationship with my Spanish friends and with my group of friends I hold dear here in Austin. And I see this in the relationship I have with my husband. As an educator, these meaningful relationships are nurtured with my colleagues and my students and even explicitly taught in my classroom. There's a saying that goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I couldn't agree more. I am a teacher and I am expected to teach my students Spanish. Math teachers teach their students math. But what if we taught our students to be part of society as well? What if we prepared them socially and emotionally? What if we taught them to care? I want to be an educator who prepares students for the world. I want them to have coping and anger management strategies. I want them to appreciate diversity and learn from experiences of discomfort and the unknown. I took a group of students to Spain one summer to experience this discomfort. I have taught a comparative religions class the past couple of years that allowed me and my students to appreciate different religions. And every year we take kids out of the comforts of the classroom and teach them the value of community at a camp in Lakey, Texas. All of these experiences, my values and beliefs, make me more than just a white, Christian, middle-class female. They make me the leader God created me to be, a leader who values diversity, equity, community, and the education of the whole child. I hope to always be willing to learn from the unknown, and believe me, this next chapter of marrying this guy and living on our East Austin farm is definitely the unknown.